Whoops. What was that? Some dramatic.
What was that? What is going on all of a sudden? Hang on now.
Whatever it is. It was my
Welcome.
fault.
How are you there, John?
I'm doing great. Yeah, let me kill this puppy here.
What an amazing start. But, I have to say, John, it's a interesting thing. It keeps getting better. The hits just keep coming with these thumbnails. Today, we have this AI generated, this is Trump hanging out at the White House there. He's got a bunch of chickens grazing around. What is it that we're going to be discussing tonight?
Yeah, so this is another one of my favorite thumbnails. If you zoom out, show people the whole thumbnail, because this is kind of an interesting thing. Earlier today, I sent Jason an image of Donald Trump speaking at the lectern. And I said to Jason, can you use AI to zoom out and show the whole White House? And lo and behold, it's like I'm in shock. It's like,
well,
this,
wait a minute.
Like this used to cost $40,000 with an art department to have, it's like you have an idea, you tell the team of people, and 10 days later, maybe
this is funny that you're bringing this up. It's funny that you're bringing this up, because when you sent me that email, I said to myself, John is so 1,000%. Like, you and I definitely had to meet. If it wasn't like this, it would have been me doing some 3D video for Oracle. And you are absolutely the type of executive who understands the technology enough to be like, I want a techno crane to fly right into the viewer's face, and then the 3D thing is going to shoot out of their head. And I'm like, hold up there. Tell me exactly what it is you're trying to achieve, and I'll get us there. Yeah. So this actually was not an AI zoom out. I just basically got the idea for what you were trying to achieve and found a much better quality picture of the White House Rose Garden, put Trump there with traditional Photoshop techniques, got these guys from the original photo, and then created the chickens with AI and, did some fancy stuff and put you in there. So there you go. Same idea, though.
I love it. Well, the reason this is the thumbnail and the reason it's so important is because today, as we're doing this show live, you may be watching a recording, but as we record this show live, it's Friday, and it's Friday the 8th of March in 2024, which means it's the second Friday in March. And the second Friday in March was the day that President Trump declared a national emergency in all 50 states. So
even
today is the day. So right. So that's the thing, is that
you're
with
going
leap
by the
years
lunar
and that stuff,
calendar.
right? It's like, right. So that's why we go by thickness here, right? So that we have a by thickness. So forget the dates, right? It doesn't. The dates don't matter.
I got
to me, I don't care about the date. I care. So it's the second Friday in March. And back then it was the second Friday in March, and today is the second Friday in March. So the same thing with the Vegas shooting. To me, the Vegas shooting is that last Sunday, right, between September and October, right? It's that Sunday night.
Do you want
that ends up
join that movement that wants to make 13 months of equal length and have Febtober or something?
No, but Louis C.K. will tell you that I am one of the 9/11 deniers, right? There should not be the number 11. Like Louis C.K. will tell you about that. There should not be the number 11. Really shouldn't exist. It's racist, and we should just go from 10 to 12. And there's only 9 of us on Earth that deny the existence of the number 11. That's why they call us the 9/11 deniers.
Got it.
So what this is about is, and that's Louis C.K. will tell you more about that. So this is about this day, Friday. Back then it was the 13th of March. It was Friday the 13th in 2020. And on that day, the President of the United States declares a national emergency in all 50 states. But other things happen on that day that are also important. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at in this show. We're going to look at the SITREP report from the WHO from that day. So we're going to say, okay, on this day, what was going on? What, according to the WHO, what was the situation, right? And we're going to look at what else did the president have on his plate that day, because it's a big job being president, right? You gotta take care of this and all this other stuff. You're commander in chief, right? So you're in charge of the military, right? So imagine Kamala Harris as commander in chief, right? That would be exciting. So
Jeez.
all of this responsibility, and there's other things on his plate. Now you put the chickens in there. We know that we've been wrestling with an avian pandemic long before COVID, right? So the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization showed us that there was kind of this avian flu thing going on, and it's in Europe, it's in Japan, it's all over the place, and this was happening before COVID. So this was all documented, and we've been looking at this because it's a pretty widespread pandemic. And when you compare the number of people that died from COVID to the number of chickens that died from the avian influenza thing, the chicken thing, like there's 54 million or 57 million chickens dead in the United States compared to 1.2 million people. So it's a lot more souls, so to speak, if you are a member of PETA and you feel that chickens are people too, right? Right. So if chickens are people too, then they got 54 million dead chickens. So, so that's my favorite chicken.
Yeah, new background here.
Yeah, why not, right? Fun. So, so that's our friend Chicken.
28K. So you're doing really well there on Twitter. It's interesting the way social media is strange, isn't it?
Well, the thing is that there's people that have way more followers than I do that don't post as compelling content, if you ask me. By compelling, I just mean it's like video, it's music, it's it's popping around, and they just post words, and I've got high impact stuff, and I've got a lot of people reposting my material, and yet I'm blocked by big name people, and so that's a little bit strange. So,
did you know this little factoid about Twitter, that Diddy was an investor when Elon bought it? And now Diddy is getting all sued in the Southern District of New York for some Epstein-ish allegations.
You're talking about 50 Cent or Diddy? Who are we talking about?
He Diddy.
He did it.
Sean Combs invested in Twitter, $10 million. Let that sink in.
Yeah. What is
and look, there they
million?
are at the Chappelle show, hanging out, and also with his son, who was accused in the lawsuit of shooting a guy in the bathroom. Allegedly.
I don't know any of this stuff. This is totally new to me.
But there's a lot of weird stuff with Twitter, right? Al Walid, we still don't know how they went from you can't buy it, poison pill, now you have to buy it. It's weird.
Oh yeah, please, come on. That's at the heart of the matter here, right? That's
now you're talking about Don Henley. Different genre.
The heart of the matter. Indeed. All right, let's take a look at these slides with the YouTube audience, because when we go to the patron-only portion of the show, I've got a whole bunch of videos queued up, including the president declaring the national emergency. We're going to break that video footage down because he says things there that kind of went, in one ear, out the other when he said it. Now, in retrospect, 4 years later, and knowing what he had on his plate.
Right.
The things he says now,
when you listen to it, you're like, that's interesting, isn't it? To do that, go back. If we only knew then what we know now.
You're gonna flip. And so we've got a whole bunch of videos queued up like that. The president declaring a bunch of other things. But let's walk through these slides because there's some interesting stuff here. So there's this first thing you're sharing. This is from Lauren Gardner's presentation. This is the lady at Johns Hopkins that En Shengdong worked for. She's the one in the leopard print. Professor. Right, the leopard print. Every time you see it, right? Right. So this is her presentation, and no, stay on that side. Stay on that side. Stay on there. So she's giving the presentation, and I think she's showing this at Congress. And on this day, this is March 6th. Okay, this is March 6th of 2020. Now today, as we're recording it, it's March 8th. Okay, right. So this is March 6th, 4 years ago. At March 6th, 4 years ago, there's 14 people dead in the United States. 14. Okay, that's in the upper right corner. That's right. That's right. Right. So there's 14 people that are dead in the United States. Okay.
It's not a lot. I mean, it's kind of surprising even that Congress would talk about that, because there's shootings where there's 14 people dead and they don't start talking about it like this, right?
It's a Sunday in Chicago. Remember
Right.
Lori Lightfoot?
Yeah.
Lori Lightfoot. In fact, I think if she had 14 dead in a weekend,
it's a light weekend.
That was a good number. Yeah, she was in the.
Why didn't they invite her there for a talk?
So 14 dead in the whole country, March the 6th. All right, so just keep this in mind and look at the map. Look at how red, you got big dots all over the place. You got 14 people dead, and there's a lot of red stuff everywhere. And so this was why I said, well, who built this thing? En Dong.
Yeah.
Did he go to class to learn how to use it? Does he know you're not supposed to make everything red when, okay. So this is the system, guys, that I built. My team. So I had a team of guys and gals, and we went out to visit ESRI.
I think you'd get a call from HR today for speaking like that.
No. Back then, that's all we had. Back then, we only had guys and gals. So we're cool. Back in the late 80s, that's all we had. So we went out and visited these guys, and they said they want to marry the data to the maps, and this is the system. But when you see how it's used and how everything is red,
yeah.
As one of the guys who built the thing, I'm like looking at it like, why is everything red? What do you have to earn a yellow?
Like they're trying to make it look worse over here than here because it's smaller, the dots, right?
Yeah, so the size of the dots and the number of cases, which is a configuration option. But again, the net of it is when you build these things, you're supposed to have red, amber, and green. And this is standard operating procedure.
Designer, En Dong obviously has his head up his ass.
He just it's all red. It's like flip all the cards, just go to 10, go to 11. It's ridiculous. We got 14 people dead in the whole country. Yeah. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. So the other thing that we're going to be taking a look at when we go to the patron only portion of the show is this article from Newsweek magazine, because this is the article that really spells out what was going on behind the scenes. And this is, to me, this piece of journalism is the watershed piece of journalism about this event, similar to the Guardian article from 2015 about unrest in the Saudi kingdom, was sort of the pivotal watershed document about the thesis on what happened in Las Vegas. So when you have a well-researched, well-written piece, as this is, documenting what's going on, and nobody's really considering it. Nobody's really reading this thing and paying attention to the details, like the map. Nobody looked at the map and spent more than 10 seconds because nobody looked at Shanghai or Hong Kong and said, hey, wait, there's not 10 dead here or here. Blah. Did anybody actually read this article and start tallying up what the hell is going on? Well, that's what we're going to do with the patrons. When we go over to Patreon and Subscribestar, which, by the way, that's the only way I make a living. I don't get $1 from YouTube, guys. So when I get strikes and stuff and I can't publish, it's not that I'm not getting paid by YouTube. It's that I can't do anything, and my patrons are sitting there going, what the hell happened to him? He disappeared. Right. So that's how I make a living, at patreon.com/I am John Cullen and subscribestar.com. I am John Cullen. And that's it. Right, so that's my entire income stream, is those two choices. Jason has strawberry, pecan. It's got all kinds of flavors.
The Baskin Robbins of.
So tell people how they can get to support you, those who aren't.
Odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And thank you for bringing that up, John. One quick thing, though, about that Newsweek article. I mean, isn't Newsweek kind of like deep state? Like, what do we know about this guy, William Arkin, who's writing that? Army
so again,
veteran.
It's like so many other of these limited hangouts that we look at. Yeah. There's accurate information, and then there's the nonsense part. Right. So when you look at this article, it's almost like somebody didn't get to this person in time And they published this. And then they were like, oh, God, nobody said anything to the Newsweek guys?
Come on.
God,
I think that's it.
wait do you see? Wait do you see? Wait do you see? You'll see when we go to the Patreon only. We're going to dig into this because basically what it's laying out is this the Stafford Act, the turnover to FEMA, General O'Shaughnessy, and you're going to see it documented in other places, not just Newsweek. So we don't just use one source. I'm saying the Newsweek thing lays out everybody and the roles and the this and the that and the name of this and the name of that. It's very well done. But we're going to look at other sources. You don't just go with one source and say, well, there's your story.
Of course.
No, we got to triangulate. So we've got a whole bunch of others. So let's take a look. So the next slide we have here, in fact, is from the Gazette. And this is where we move Northern Command troops into Cheyenne Mountain. Okay, so the U.S. Northern Command moved into Cheyenne Mountain. And if you look at the second paragraph in the story, it's the first time in 14 years the command has put the mountain into full-time use.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
It seems weird for the disease in retrospect, definitely. And it seemed weird at the time, too.
And so we'll go to the next slide, which is, we just zoomed in on it on the next slide. It's the same slide, basically, the same words. So first time in 14 years. And now this next slide, above top secret contingency plans already exist for what the military is supposed to do.
Top secret. Who knows
above
about
top secret.
Now, nobody can talk about
Newsweek. Right. This is what was it in Animal House? You're in super double secret.
Yeah, probation. Right. Only Lester Colt can talk about this. Tune in at 9.
This is double top secret. All right. So what this says is, if you scroll down to the blue part that I highlighted, America had better learn who General Terrence O'Shaughnessy is. He is the combatant. He is the combatant commander for the United States and would, in theory, be in charge if Washington were eviscerated. And I'm like, eviscerated? Are we talking about the same thing? We're talking about a respiratory infection that's not yet killed 10 people?
They got 14 people over there. This is a serious deal.
Eviscerated? It sounds a little harsh, bro. Again, I'm just...
He's a pessimist.
Maybe I'm just a word guy. Right. He's a pessimist and I'm a word guy. And you put the two of us in a room, it's already a disaster. He thinks it's eviscerated. How's Washington going to get eviscerated? And there's 7 people then in Shanghai, or 9 or so. It's like, So General Terrence O'Shaughnessy is the combatant commander. So you go to this next article. This is also in the Gazette. And what it says here is that the Northern Command are back in the bunker, right? I mean, this is I think this is the same story. All right, next. No visitors are allowed at the underground Pentagon in the Pennsylvania mountains. Now, this is another complex called Raven Rock.
But why would you think there would be visitors? I mean, that's like saying don't lie down inside the lion pen, obviously.
Well, no. So what
you can't visit the underground Pentagon? Oh, that's surprising.
No. What they're saying is, unless you work here and you're on the inside, we're locking it. We're locking it down. So basically, they lock. And look at the date up top. Look at the date on the article. So they lock down Raven Rock. They lock down Cheyenne Mountain. They haven't locked down Cheyenne Mountain. In fact, I'm not sure. We'll have to check. Maybe you can ask Perplexity AI if they locked down Cheyenne Mountain. Is your new hot AI?
No, okay, Claude is very focused on not making mistakes. It's quite good.
I haven't used Claude. All right, if you want to ask Claude, did we close Cheyenne Mountain September 11th, 2001? I don't know the answer to that, and I'm curious about that.
Let me just,
because it says 14 years. It says it's the first time that we did a full-time deployment of 14 years. I'm kind of curious. What was 14 years ago? What happened 14 years ago?
Hang on, I'm not logged in on this computer here.
Forgive me. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute now.
You're going to like the next slide in the deck a lot. You're really going to like it.
Let's do that while I try to sort this out. There we go. Continue with email, I think is...
So people thought the Samuel Jackson movie was a joke.
Snakes on a plane.
Mechanics battle to keep rattlesnakes off of parked planes. So this is another aspect of what was happening back then that a lot of people aren't aware of. is that we parked airplanes out in the desert in California, in Arizona. I don't know where they were doing it in Europe, but maybe just at the airports in Europe. But they were putting these things in storage, and they've got rattlesnakes climbing up on the planes.
Man,
yeah, for real, like not a joke. Like it's really happening.
That's not good.
No.
Even Qantas planes. I think in the desert in Vegas is a hot spot for this. There's a boneyard. Oh no, it's between Vegas and LA. Tucson. I'm pretty sure people used to go visit that.
Vegas and LA. I know there's one in Tucson, but that's the Air Force. There's the Victorville, and I made a video about
Victorville, California. Yeah.
Oh, I made a video. There's a video on Johnny Hoover channel called Victorville is Evidence. And it's the video of the guy who gets on a small plane, flies out to Victorville, and documents all these planes in storage.
Yeah. I think all over the world they go to that Victorville.
Go to the next slide. You'll see. Here's Cathay Pacific. Go to the next slide. You'll see.
Mothballed. Right.
Yeah, there you go. So all the airlines all over the world start putting the planes into storage. Go to the next slide. Right. What do you see in the next slide? So they start putting these things into storage everywhere, not just in the United States, in other countries. Go to the next slide, another one. So country after country after country is parking their planes on the tarmac. And people say, well, why would you do that?
14 people dead.
You get 14 people dead in America, right? And so we go to the next slide.
But wait, what did you want to ask, Claude?
Did we close the doors to Cheyenne Mountain September 11th, 2001? And if not, when was the last time?
September 11th, 2001.
That was the World Trade Center attack, right?
Oh, yeah, right. Let's see what it says. It says, there is no evidence that the doors to Cheyenne Mountain were closed on September 11th, 2001 as a direct reaction to the 9/11 terrorist attacks that day. However, some additional security measures were likely taken at military installations like Cheyenne Mountain in response to the attacks. Cheyenne Mountain is a military installation, a nuclear bunker located in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It is the home of operations for NORAD. This is amazing, isn't it? So what was the other thing you wanted to ask him?
When was the last time?
Look, it says Cheyenne Mountain Complex remained staffed and operational throughout the 9/11 attacks. It was not evacuated or fully locked down, as it is designed to continue functioning during crisis situations.
So when was the last time the doors at Cheyenne Mountain were closed? And then I think we're going to have to go over to the patron-only portion of the show to take a close listen to what the president had to say on this.
There's no publicly available information about the last time. Okay, so it's basically perhaps not accurate. Maybe it was closed another time. So we don't know. These AI things are interesting, taking off points for research, but we should.
And they're often wrong, right? So often I'll have the data. So, and we can do this with the patrons when we go to the patron-only portion.
Well,
so for example,
wait a minute. You have an article from something that talks about it, right? Watch this.
I do, but yeah.
So I'm just Googling Cheyenne Mountain doors closed. They're still there. World's most secure building. Locked down.
Yes.
NORAD Cheyenne Mountain Fortress is back. Troops head. Coronavirus drives Army command teams. So let's see. This is the Daily Mail. Does that say it's locked down? So now what we can do is watch this.
Isolated.
Come back over here to Claude and say, do you know about this? Bing. And then it'll say, oh, I didn't know about that. Yes, I am aware of that report shared the Daily Mail about Cheyenne. According to this article, U.S. military, blah, 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 crews were working. Not officially confirmed. The report suggests key members of the Air Force Command were sheltered in the bunker. So in essence, it was likely one of the few times since the Cold War era Cheyenne Mountain's infrastructure and protective capabilities were seriously tapped due to a national emergency like the COVID-19 virus. So it's pretty specific. Maybe it wasn't wrong.
Well, the articles that I was citing earlier say that they're moving troops in and they are closing Cheyenne Mountain. And President Trump closed Cheyenne Mountain. We will talk about Raven Rock when we go over with the patrons. But the gist of it is there's less than 50 dead on Friday the 13th of 2020. Less than 50 are dead in the United States. There's not 10 dead in Shanghai yet. There's not 10 dead in Hong Kong yet. There's not yet 5,000 dead in China. And yet this is what we're doing, putting airplanes away. We're locking everything down, and now we're going to go build field hospitals. And this whole chicken pandemic was already underway. In fact, Crimson Contagion, the exercise, it's already done, right? So this happened in 2019. They were trying to figure out what are we going to do about this. So President Trump had a lot on his plate at this particular point in time 4 years ago. And then on March 10th to March 11th, everything changed overnight. And the first thing we're going to look at with our patrons is what happened on March 11th. Because he sure changed his tune from March 10th to March 11th. What might they have shown the president on March 10th? I'm going to show you what exclusive footage that I have, you have, and Laura Ingraham. And that's it. You know, there's nobody else on planet Earth that has this footage.
Really?
So, yeah, it's mine. I made it right.
Well, we got to
3D
head on over there. Oh, yeah,
that's
right.
what we're
Of
gonna
course.
do.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Right.
So we got to head on over to
the
the sponsor exclusive segment here. But we'll see everybody in less than 5 minutes. Join us over on Subscribestar and Patreon and Odyssey and all that stuff. Thanks.